Back in 2022, I had my first conversations with Rich Renkin about ordering a second Tyler guitar. My Black Classic, previously known as the Landau Classic, had been my number one since 2015, but the release of the yellow Dann Huff Classic pushed me over the edge, and I finally began thinking about what my own James Tyler guitar might look like. The problem was my Black Classic was a very different animal to the more highly modified models within Tyler's line, such as the Studio Elite or the yellow Huff. And since this was the only Tyler I owned or had even played, I had no reference point. Enter my friend Jerry Devine. Jerry and I talk regularly, and when I told him that I was planning a video about Dann Huff's clean tone, he told me that I needed a guitar that had series parallel switching, and quite unbelievably, he offered to send me his own custom Tyler, which was inspired by Dann's heavily modified 1964 Stratocaster. Jerry's guitar was completely different to mine, so finally I had some basis for comparison. What I ended up speccing with Rich Renkin was a combination of my guitar and Jerry's guitar, or more accurately, Michael Landau's guitar and Dann Huff's guitar, and thus Woody was born. The purpose of this video is to provide insight into the different options that Tyler offer, so that if you are considering placing an order one day, or if you are looking for a Tyler on the pre-owned market, that you have a point of reference. So I'm going to take you through Woody's specs. I'm going to show you what the Midboost can do. I'm going to explain the whole host of Tyler switching options, and I'm going to give you some opinions on hardware, pickups, and neck shape. Okay, here are the specs of Woody. Woody has an older body in a natural finish. Yes, this was absolutely inspired by a specific era of Michael Landau's Coma, which was also one of the reasons why I wanted the volume knob moved down slightly. This is also because I tend to accidentally roll my volume knob off on Strat style guitars, so this very much alleviates that problem. This guitar has a maple neck and of course a maple fingerboard. It has locking hip shot tuners, which are fantastic. We have two Seymour Duncan hot stacks. It's important to note that these are both bridge hot stacks to better match the output of the humbucker, which is a secret humbucker, the same that I have in my Black Classic. We have the G2TS bridge, which is my favorite bridge, the Tyler Midboost with Midboost bypass button and the potentiometer to control the level of the Midboost. We have a 5-way selector switch with series parallel options for each pickup. The hardware is nickel, the scratch plate and the back plate are black, and you can see the battery compartment here. Let's start with the Midboost. The Tyler Midboost is made by Demeter to James Tyler's specs. There is a push button just above the 5-way selector switch, which when out activates the preamp, and when pushed in bypasses it completely. So even if your 9-volt battery is flat, the guitar will still function. We also have a small potentiometer at the extremity of the scratch plate, which controls the level of the Midboost. Activating the Midboost, even with the pot turned all the way down, turns your signal into a low impedance one, or a buffered signal. As Rich Renkin describes it, this is as if you are taking your guitar cable out of the equation. This first clip demonstrates the Midboost activator, but with the pot rolled all the way down to give us some glassy clean tones. This is a combination of my Mesa Boogie Mark IV on the clean channel, and for the arpeggiated part, a clean DI blended in as well. Rich says that the Tyler Midboost is voiced around 100 Hz, which makes it more of a low boost than a mid boost. And this was developed for the studio players that Jim was building guitars for, so that specifically when they were taking solos in the upper register, the sound didn't thin out too much. It's worth noting that as you bring the mid-boost control up, you are accentuating lows, but you're also attenuating highs. In this next clip, I demonstrate how much you can shape your clean tone using the mid-boost. The first two guitar parts both have the mid-boost set at around 25%. The guitar on the right is a DI, the guitar on the left is my Mesa Boogie. When the main riff comes in, I start with the mid-boost activated but at 0%, and then with each repetition of the riff, you'll see me move the control 25% higher every time. So 0, 25, 50, 75. For me, the sweet spot with clean tones is usually between 25 and 50%, depending on the part. Beyond that, we start to roll out quite a lot of highs. Back in March of this year, I took on a job as a remote session musician, and between March and October, I played on something like 400 sessions. Once Woody had arrived, I used him on nearly every session that I did, and in some cases, he was the only guitar I used on a session. This is because the mid-boost allows you to completely reshape your overdriven tones too. In this next example, I double tracked the same part through the same amp with the same settings, but with one guitar part where the mid boost was bypassed, and with the other guitar part with the mid boost set to around 50%. Now, to demonstrate the original intended application of the mid-boost, in this final example, I'm going to take two passes at a Dann Huff solo. On the first one, the mid-boost will be bypassed completely. On the second example, the mid-boost is on full. Just a side note here, but I can say that when you're going for this style, the guitar feels so much better with the mid-boost engaged. It really helps you. Let's move on to series parallel switching. In the following clip, Rich explains exactly how this works.
You got two coils, so when you're in series, it goes into one coil, around, out, into the other coil, around, and then out, so it's in series. Parallel, it goes into both pickups, coils at the same time, cruises around and comes out at the same time. Now what that does for you is gives you the ability to select parallel, and that's 1/4 of the power of a full series humbucker. Pretty straightforward. And it's actually a similar thing that happens on just a normal Strat when you select position 2 and you get that kind of a smaller kind of a sound. It's parallel.
If you haven't already, I highly recommend that you check out the whole of that video by Tyler. It's very useful, and Rich and the whole team at Tyler post a bunch of really useful information to their YouTube channel. Now, because there are so many potential permutations of this switching setup, I've taken a very short musical example of just a couple of bars, and I have moved it through every permutation of the series and parallel switches. One final secret of the electronics is this, a pull pot on the volume. This is Tyler's add neck bridge circuit, which means that in the neck or the bridge position, both these pickups are on, and in any of the middle positions, all 3 pickups are on. Now, to give you some general opinions on neck profile, hardware and pickups based on my experience, the G2TS bridge is my favorite bridge of any guitar that I own. It's incredibly stable. It feels great from a tactile perspective. There's just enough sensitivity in the bar for bar work. It stays in tune remarkably well. My Black Classic Level 1 has a standard 59 neck profile. This has a thin 59 neck profile. They are both fabulous. It's very difficult to choose between them. As you'd expect, the thin 59 is a little bit faster, but to me, the standard 59 still feels like home. I think ultimately you would be happy with either. I don't have particularly big hands, and I can get on with both necks perfectly well. Both my Tylers have got the Tyler Secret humbucker in the bridge. For me, this is just the perfect amount of output for a humbucker. It's not too much, although it is very much transformed into a different beast with the addition of the Midboost. But when we're not using that, it's voiced in such a way that pairs very well with single coils and also just seems to sit very, very well in a mix, whether that be a live band mix or within a track. If I had to choose a single coil without the additional circuitry of the Midboost and the switching, I would pick the James Tyler 5500 single coils that are in my Black Classic. They are extremely lively, extremely vibey. They feel great under the fingers. However, to my ears, these hot stack pickups are absolutely made for this circuitry. They really come alive with the mid boost. They are generally quieter than regular single coils because these are, of course, technically humbuckers, and they are incredibly shapeable. Granted, I don't tend to use them that much without the mid boost. However, with that said, I do find that they do well with mid-gain tones with the mid-boost bypassed. I really like them for that. Personally, I'd strongly recommend that if you are going to go for a mid-boost on your Tyler, whether you're speccing one or looking for one, I would strongly recommend that you consider getting series parallel switching as well. It really does open up so many options for you. The add neck bridge pull pot on the volume is really the icing on the cake because it just gives you that many more options. However, I have to admit that I tend to use this in studio situations a lot more than I do live, just because it's kind of tricky to get to when your hands are sweating and you're in the heat of battle, so to speak. It's very easy to not be able to get a grip on the knob in the moment when you need to, but it's a great option when you are recording. Tyler also do a series parallel split option for their switching system, which sounds great, and Jerry's guitar has this and it sounds fabulous, but I just found that I was always gravitating towards the series or the parallel sounds. They were both a little bit quieter, and I felt that I didn't need the extra optionality personally. Jerry's guitar also had the lead rhythm circuit, which is another mini switch. This essentially acts as a blower switch, so when it is in the up position, regardless of which switches you have selected and which pickup you have selected, it will default to the bridge humbucker in series. Again, this was great, but it was just kind of alien to me, and I thought I would already be getting used to all of this stuff and that I probably didn't need any more things to get wrong in the middle of a gig. This concludes our rundown of my custom Tyler Woody. In the future, I may do a side-by-side comparison with my Black Classic Level 1, but for now, I hope this gives you some food for thought. Please feel free to reach out with any questions you may have in the comments section, or alternatively, reach out to Rich Renken. He truly is the warm, beating heart of Tyler. He's a wonderful person, and they are a wonderful team, and they are extremely helpful and extremely accommodating with any questions that you may have. I hope this video has been useful, and I will see you all soon. Thanks for watching.